Hello. Hi guys. So first thing, very important, we are not allowed to eat food or drink here. It's strictly forbidden, sorry. But it's something that the people hosting us requested us. So avoid to bring food and drinks to the main auditory place. And the good news are that we have Sander here, and he's going to talk about the new release of Moodle 3.8 that was released this Monday, and he's going to do a quick tour about all the features. Come on.
Thanks very much, Juan. And I feel like I can't really start my session without acknowledging the amazing students that were here on stage before me, because I don't know about you, but I was totally blown away by them, and I would love to have each and every one of them on my team if I could. So they did a fantastic job. We had a good party last night, a nice celebration. I hope most of you were there. It was a really amazing time, as it is with every Moodle party. And I feel it was also a little bit of a party for the launch of Moodle 3.8, as Juan mentioned. That came out last Monday. And it's really always a joint effort between Moodle HQ and the community, you guys. There's a bunch of you here in the audience who've contributed to that release as well. So thank you very much. It's always a demo as well. I have been told I'm on a schedule, so I'll try and go through it quite quickly. And then look ahead at Moodle 3.9. So what are some of the key things that we're introducing in Moodle 3.8? Of course, H5P. Many people have been waiting for this, and many people are very excited about it, as are we. We have a big forum project, which is supported by the MUA, so thank you very much for that. We always love working with them. We've done some learning analytics. We can give the MUA a shout out. And we've introduced proper emojis now in messaging and in Atto, and there's many other contributions as well. We'll start off with H5P, interactive videos. So H5P allows us to bring a lot more dynamic and engaging and interactive content onto your Moodle site. So this is a very exciting project. What have we done? It's really a big project. So we have divided it into two phases. And the first phase has landed for 3.8. So we're starting off with having integrated a H5P player or renderer within Moodle. So now you can use filters as well as the Atto editor to add H5P content. If you want to create H5P content, you can still use the existing H5P plugin that you can download on the plugin database. That's still compatible. Or you can go to h5p.org and make your content there. But we'll be continuing with this project for 3.9 to make a further integration, to bring those features like creation of H5P content into Moodle as well. So what does that look like? We've got an additional filter now, display H5P. There's some trusted URLs that you can specify, and Moodle will recognize those and automatically display your H5P content. Secondly, from within Atto, you see the Atto editor here. There's a new H5P button. When you click that button, you'll get a new dialog pop up to insert your H5P. You can enter URLs, or you can upload H5P packages directly to your site. The forum project, as mentioned, supported by the MUA. This has been really 3 projects into one, I would say. We've added forum grading, which was much requested by many people. There's a summary report of student activity. There's exporting features, and we've also developed a new nested discussion view. Let's look at some of the grading. So if you've set up grading on your forums as a teacher, you now have a grade users button. You can see we've made some minor tweaks as well to the discussion list page to tidy that up a little bit. And when you click the grade users button, you go into the grading interface for forum. And over on the right at the top, you can see Amanda Hamilton. So we're looking at her forum posts, and we see those forum posts over on the left. So you can focus on just those posts, or you can click on the parent post to see what she's replied to. You can also click on view discussion to see the entire discussion thread, so you can evaluate her posts in context. Over on the right, we then have the grading panel. I've set it up here to use a marking guide, but you can use point grading or rubrics as well. Then the forum summary report is really a report that showcases the students' activities, so you can see things like number of discussions posted, number of replies, attachments, number of views, word count, character count. So it gives you an indication of how active each student has been within the forum. This is a user preference, so you can select whether you want to see the new UI or the old UI. Content pretty much anywhere where the editor is available. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to make a label, for example, and through the editor, I'll be able to add some H5P content. We'll go in here, browsing the repositories. I've got a file that I've saved on my desktop. I'll try and pick a small one, because otherwise the upload takes too long. So we're now adding the H5P in there. And you'll see there's a placeholder for it within the editor. And then when we go down and actually add it onto the course, we now have added some H5P content directly onto the course page. So through the editor, you can just generally add H5P content anywhere you like. Which is pretty exciting. Here we go, there it is. So we can run the H5P from within here. The other thing that's a pretty cool feature is you can also use the filters. For example, I'm writing a message to someone, and if I put a link to some H5P content in there, it'll actually automatically pick that up. So now we've got a H5P interactive video that we've embedded within a message that we can send to anyone within the Moodle site. So these are some of the cool things that you can do with H5P now. But as I said, we'll be doing more work on that for Moodle 3.9 and adding H5P activities as graded activities within Moodle. The other thing I want to quickly show you, because I want to keep it to two things because we'll run out of time, is the forum grading. So here we are on a forum that I've set up to be graded. So as a user, as a teacher, you can set it up and decide your grading options. And now I've got this button to grade my students. It opens up the grading interface. And here we see Amanda Hamilton that we looked at before. Here are some of her posts. They're in reverse chronological order. I can look at the parent post to see what she replied to. I can, sorry, that was not the idea. Here we go. If we want to look at the post in its full context, you can click on the View Discussion link, and it shows the entire discussion. So you can have a read through and then decide how well that particular student has done. So we can search for a particular student that we want to grade. And here, like I said, I've set it up with a marking guide. There's various criteria. You've got your frequently used comments. It's all collapsible and folds out. So that works quite nicely. If you want to see more of the content, you can sort of remove the sidebar and focus on the posts for a while. So this is how you would go through and grade your students. I'll go back and finish up with some forward-looking things. What we'll be looking at for Moodle 3.9. So we'll be continuing on with the integration of H5P. We're also doing a project to improve the activity chooser, which is really in line with us wanting to improve the usability of Moodle. So we've got some concepts on there already, and we're very keen to start development on that. We'll work together again with the MUA for another project. We're doing some work as well for Save Exam Browser and improving the integration there, which is a project we're doing with the Save Exam Browser Consortium as well as Catalyst. We'll work on MoodleNet integration. You've seen Doug up here. Very exciting project and very keen to formally integrate that into Moodle. And we'll also take a close look at the accessibility. So what are we doing for accessibility at the moment? We're performing an audit. We're working with an external party who's taking a look at a number of the key Moodle pages, doing an audit there in terms of accessibility, because we want to make sure that we'll be ready for the new legislation coming into effect in the EU. We'll review those findings and start applying those for 3.9. We're also looking to integrate a content accessibility checker, which is a piece of work that we're doing together with Kevin, Hendrik and Brickfields, and he's out there, which I think will be really important, and it's sort of similar to what Blackboard has done with Ali, and we want to bring that into Moodle. And that was really all I wanted to share with you today, so thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for listening. We have some time for questions, I hope. 20 minutes, do we have, some time for a couple of questions? Has anybody got a mic? Juan, can we do some questions?
Hi. Would you recommend to generate content for H5P inside Moodle or outside? What's the best and most efficient or recommended way?
So the recommended way is to use the plugin, the existing plugin of H5P, install it onto the site, so then you have the best local create content in Moodle, and then through the new feature that we built, you can use it also anywhere. Is there a question back there?
Hi. Two questions, actually. When you said the backup optionally including files, do you mean, for example, the files that are, you put a folder, you upload files for the students to download, and also the files, for example, a PDF that you upload? Both are considered same type of files and can be removed from the backup? That's one of my questions. Is it clear?
Yes.
And the other one is, you added the grading for the forums. How does it interact with the ratings? That students can rate other posts from other students, and they are included in the gradebook. So now that we have the grading from the teacher, how does it affect the grade for the forum for the student?
Sure. So in terms of that last question, the grades that the teacher puts in through the new grading interface will end up back into the gradebook, so they're directly connected to that. So based on whatever marking guide or points grading you're doing, the grades will feed back into gradebook for that student.
But will it be averaged with the ratings for the student, or ratings are averaged, for example? Or you can
the ratings?
With the ratings.
Those are two separate things. So the ratings, we've got an expert next to you as well. Helen.
Just to explain about the forum grading, so what Sander demonstrated in the interface, it's called whole forum grading. So that's one option, or you can still use forum ratings just like you've done in previous versions. About your files question, did you want to answer it, Sander, or would you like me to?
No, go ahead.
Okay, as soon as I have the mic. So the files, it's not actually to do with file resource. It's when you create a backup, say, of a course, you've got an option to include all these different things like users, roles, capabilities, not capabilities, roles, all those other things. And files has been added as a new option that you couldn't include before because it was always included. So now, if the administrator enables it, you cannot include it. So it's good for if you wanted to back up a course and restore it on the same site, because it means your backup is relatively small. It doesn't include all the big files that might be in your course.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Helen. Would you have any other questions? No? All right. Thanks, everyone.
La última. Okay. Thank you for joining me for this session about how to make a competent public sector. My name is Håkon Mæland Eriksen. I am from the Norwegian Association of Local and Regional Authorities in Norway, where all municipalities and regions are members. We use KS for short in Norway, so if you want to visit our website, it's ks.no. So, a little bit about KS. It's been around since about 1903, so we are quite old, but we try to stay new. And before we start, I'd like you to consider what do we mean by public sector. So, of course, I think you know that we mean government services and services provided by local and regional authorities, and also collaborating services between the government and the local level. But we need to go a little further than that. So this is from, I have a couple of tasks for you during my talk. It's very quick, so you can Google it. I'll come to that in a moment. This is from the CEMR. It's an umbrella association for local and regional authorities. We deal with local democracy and so on in Europe. And so here is Norway on the left and Spain on the right. And so task number one for you to Google is find your own country if you are from Europe at the CEMR, so you can compare what you're seeing here. Now, in Norway, there are about, at this moment, 422 municipalities or local authorities and 19 regional ones. In Spain, there are over 8,000 municipalities, so you see our countries are rather different. France, I think, has over 30,000 local authorities, something like that. So you can go to CMR and check. So there's one small difference. From 2020, we have these reforms going in Norway. So we will get down to 356 municipalities and only 11 regions, trying to grant good services to our citizens. Which brings me to the next point.
what competencies are required by local and regional authorities in different countries in Europe, in your country. So in our country, in Norway, we have sort of this generalist principle. All municipalities must be able to provide all mandated services, which is very different from, say, Spain, which uses the number of citizens as a guideline for which services should be supported. So overall, from Norway then, we have child welfare, primary and secondary education, healthcare, social services, culture and leisure, including sports, technical infrastructure, and local planning. If you are in Spain and your municipality has less than 5,000 inhabitants, you are, compared to us, you have only the technical infrastructure. And as your municipality grows, it gets some more services, as you see. So this might be different in your country, just to make you understand a little bit about what local democracy can include. Another thing is the size of the population. Now, the population of Norway is about 5.2 million people. It's not that much in the European context, but we compensate for that with a lot of geography. So we have a very, very long country. And our municipal structure is such that on the left you see we have now 225 smaller municipalities. So on the bottom you can see 0 to 5,000 citizens, 5 to 10,000, 10,000 to 20,000, etc., until you come to the other end, which is Oslo, our main capital. Now, the municipality's employees, they're about 1/10 of the citizens. So now you may start to glean the competency task or challenge. So you have a lot of services, you have a lot of small municipalities, and you are supposed to grant high-quality services to your citizens. So in Scandinavia we are quite similar, but this is our neighbor Sweden. The same kind of graph, but as you see the structure is quite different. And in Denmark it's like 98, I think, municipalities, and they are around 50,000 citizens per municipality in Denmark. So what works in one country might not work in another country. Okay. So now we know a little bit about the structure, but we also need to know the competencies and the number of employees. How many people are we talking about who are providing high-quality services to the citizens? So here we have about 260,000 who work with social services for all ages, child welfare and healthcare for 0 to 18. Then we have elderly care, 230,000 employees. Primary and secondary education, which means grades 1 through 13, about 123,000. Management, 62,000. Kindergarten, 50,000. Culture, 13,000. Technical services, about 10,000. And some other services as well. So what does that look like at the local level? So I have 4 municipalities here. So the biggest one, Oslo, at the top. The 10th largest is Drammen. Then you have Nome, which has about, how many? 6,000 inhabitants. And Utsira, which is one of our very, very smallest municipalities, and it's not even visible. But you can see some of the numbers of employees. Okay, so The municipal sector in Norway has a turnover about 12.2%. Now, turnover means people who leave or retire, right? So you got to get in new people, and they need competence initiatives to enhance their competence in addition to what they've already learned and are qualified to do, right? To get updated. So, and finally, we have, as Martin mentioned yesterday, we have the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which is part of Agenda 2030, so we haven't all that much time to reach these goals. But in Norway, local and regional authorities and the government services have said, we will align our strategies to reach those goals. So, and if you think that Norway, which is a very rich country, has no poverty, that is not correct. In some of our bigger cities, we have some child poverty. We have issues with climate. We have a lot of climate. And of course, there are issues in health and education and in many other areas as well. So we can do better. So, now we sort of understand this task. So, should you accept this impossible mission? This message will self-destruct in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So then let's move on to task number 2. Finding the team to actually do this. Now I'm so fortunate that I have an A team, and they're sitting right over there. Please stand up. These are our heroes from Telemark. So, what have they been doing? They actually started this back in 2012 or thereabouts, and they have been doing this with Moodle, enhancing competencies for a number of years until KS picked up on this in about 2013, I think. And I only came along recently in 2016. So you need an A team. So what's an A team in this context? Well, you need someone with a lot of organizational experience. And you need a couple of die-hard project managers. And you need content experts to use Moodle correctly. And you need also some domain experts. Now, unfortunately, Hanne is not with us today. She's a domain expert within municipal health services, which has sort of been one of the killer content apps of our Moodle site, which I will introduce you to in a moment. So in addition to the A team then, you need something else. And so this is a new task for you. You can check your local autonomy index, the LAI, to see if you are allowed to start doing this or not. You may not have the mandate to do it, or you may have a smaller mandate than you think you have, or you may have a bigger mandate than you know about. So if you have a bigger mandate than you know about, do more. Okay, so let's see what happened 2 years ago.
Vi har flere kurs vi skulle gjennomført for mange av våre ansatte, men jeg klarer ikke å se for meg hvordan vi skal klare dette med de ressursene vi har nå.
Nå har vi en nasjonal løsning for deling av kunnskap og kompetanseheving. Velkommen med.
Strategisk kompetanseledelse er viktig for oss. Derfor har vi laget et kurs på dette området. Og det er nå 137 ledere som har gjennomført kurset.
Vi har laget et e-læringskurs for nyansatte, og per i dag har 85% av alle våre ansatte gjennomført dette kurset.
Ved å ta i bruk KS Læring sin mulighet for kombinert læring, kan vi nå gjennomføre HMS grunnkurs på en mer fleksibel og kostnadseffektiv måte. Sammen i 2016 og 2017 har vi over 650 arrangementer i løsningen.
So that was 2 years ago. We launched a national solution, which is our Moodle. It looks like this. And we have about, there are 4 aspects of this solution, and I'll try to stay on time. So we now have a competence community. We have a management system for managers who have to follow up on the competencies of their employees. Also, all of the competence initiatives are under a Creative Commons share-alike license, the CC by SA license, because we don't want any license incompatibilities. And also keep the idea open for perhaps some commercial possibilities later. So how many people are in this now? Well, we have about 267,000 employees, managers, and also some elected officials. There are about 190 local and regional authorities, and all of them are sharing what they are creating to save money. So we have competence initiatives as events, e-learning, combined learning, blended learning, micro-learning, collaborative forums, and it's possible to get reports about your employees to check compliance. And we are starting to use Moodle's features for digital competence plans. Some of the bigger municipalities use external systems for this. These are just some examples of health and safety and environment, some courses for information security and privacy. These are free. How our events are handled so that you have all of the learning in one place. And collaborative forums. So to do this, you need, of course, a bit of funding. And because organizations need help to implement this, so we offer them a free, what we call a start package, at no cost, where our heroes from Telemark travel out into the municipalities and teach them how to use Moodle and get going. So, short status report, and then I'll close. As I mentioned, there will be 356 municipalities and 11 regions come January. So these 2 maps need to be updated. The blue ones are those that we have a contract with, but all of the gray ones can log in with a national solution for logging in and use things. So you can see the blue, they are producers, and the gray are consumers. And what surprised us about Moodle was that it was equally good for small as well as big municipalities. Finally, we have collaboration with government. So DFI, they are sitting over here, and also the Ministry of Education, and the private sector NHO, and special StatPed, which is for those with special needs education. So, how do you do this? How do you make a competent public sector that is aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? Well, I think we can finish up by just focusing on the top. You need to collaborate. Thank you.
We have time for just one question. Any? Over there? I think.
What's your question? Yes.
Thank you. You mentioned that this global learning program includes reports from employees. How are these reports integrated in the learning individual progress? And how do employees accept these reports? So what's their vision?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have Moodle sort of as the base, and then we have some additional plugins which are similar to Totara or the new Moodle for Workplace. So we have an organizational module where the municipalities include their organizations and managers, and etc. And then we're using access control lists to give access to the right manager and not to everybody else, if that makes sense. Yeah. Was that an answer to your question? Yes, so we have these job roles. So if you have, let's say, a position as a nurse in a municipality, then we can sort of say these courses are obligatory and you have to complete them to be certified. And these can be reset at intervals to allow updating. I'm not sure if I answered your question correctly, but we can talk afterwards.
Sorry, maybe during lunch?
Yep.
It's a good time so you can discuss. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Whoa.
Hello, good morning everybody. I'm Bram Lauwers and I work in Belgium for the federal government. My colleague Diggy van Dam is also here with me today. And I'm going to tell something about one Moodle, one dream. So a bit of context to start. We work with the Federal Public Service, Policy and Support. We're in fact a horizontal organization and we support all the other departments in fact. So we support especially on HR processes. To do that, we use different HR tools which are mostly open source. We've got a population of 70,000 federal civil servants and they are divided by 60 organizations. Our learning HR process, it's like fully digital. We've got like a course catalog online, people can enroll, and then afterwards it goes to SAP, it's the only non-open source that we've got. And then the learning takes place in our Moodle platform. At the end, we evaluate in a Lime survey. All these different modules, in fact, we offer them as free services to all the other client organizations, in fact. So they don't have to invest everything again, but we recycle, in fact, our investments. How do we use, in fact, Moodle at our place? So all the civil servants can come to the policy and support public sector, public service, and come and learn with us. We use it for classical courses, e-learning, flipped learning, communities, events, and like intake tests for computer courses, for example. And in fact, we offer Moodle as a free service to all our client organizations so they can use it for their internal courses. For example, we give them a course category manager, that's easy. Then we made a tiny development, and in fact, only the look and feel, like the logo and two colors, change on our Moodle site. So we got one Moodle site, but we got different types of look and feel. We also got developed a conditional menu item, so when a guy from the Justice Department logs in, he can click and go directly to the course category of justice. We provide interfacing, we provide trainings also with my colleague Diggy, and we also got a centralized help desk, so they don't have to bother about logins and other things. This is when people log in at our site. We also got an electronic ID. So that's right above, that's the conditional menu item. So a guy from Justice, he can go directly to Justice. And you see the colors change of look and feel. Depending on which organization you work for, colors change. Colors at the course and colors at the categories. So at the end, it's the same platform, but they get another look and feel. Now we're like with 10 organizations already, we're using the same platform. And the big plus, the value we add, in fact, is that we win-win-win. Why? Cost cutting on hosting. We only host one platform. We only develop on one platform. We only upgrade one platform. So it's like we don't need to invest, we recycle all of our investments. Return on investments also on help desk. We only got one help desk instead of 10 help desks. We provide training, content, coaching, and also on content creating. That's where things are getting really, really interesting. Why? We win again. We keep on winning. Because we got one learning platform, and like for the students it's easy. If they study at their local organization, they can use the same platform as well as they study at our centralized organization. And we also have courses, in fact, that are open for all the Belgian civilians. So we're interconnecting with society as well. In fact, by inviting other people, then not only the civil servants, learning really gets interesting. You really got other ideas that are slipping in the learning activities. At the end, what we're trying to do is, in fact, implementing a new way of a learning culture, in fact. It's like a culture that's based on sharing. So like we share content with society, we share content between organizations. We really try to be as open as possible. Co-creating. We don't gonna buy or develop a course that everybody needs. Like for example, a course on social media. One organization developed a course on social media, and so we've opened it up for all the other organizations, so all the other organizations don't have to develop on their own a course on that. And then at the end, the recognition. That's in fact due to the fact that we changed look and feel, and it's like a really tiny thing, but for the organizations themselves, they're really glad that it's their logo and their colors. But at the end, it's just one big platform. And also for the course developers themselves, if you can develop a course for 10 people, 100 people, or afterwards your course is being used by 1,000 or 10,000 people, that makes a big difference in recognition. But at the end, what I've really learned, that's this, that if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, we have to go together. That's it. Thank you.
For more questions, just grab him green lunch. Ron.
Good morning. Since you're federal, how do you tackle the languages? What? Since you are at federal level, how do you tackle the 3 official languages?
Yeah, like it's really easy. We duplicate courses and we translate them. Only in courses like communities, where we really like that people work together, there we use the multi-language thing, and we translate everything in 2 or 3 languages. With all the rest of the courses, they are just duplicated and translated. So we've got everything. Instead of 500 courses, we've got 1,000 courses. That's it. Okay, thank you.
Testing.
Hola, welcome everybody. I'm honored to be here, to be sharing the work that we've been doing during the last year at the EUIPO. Before I start, I want to, well, I will need to be very quick because time is very limited. I also want to say thank you to all the team that I know that they are watching from via streaming, because I'm representing today the work of a lot of people, from IT technicians to people involved in the business side, and yeah. So myself, I'm Jose Mariano Luján. I'm project manager at the EUIPO. The EUIPO is the European Union Intellectual Property Office, which is based in Alicante, but it represents, it's a unified entity for all Europe. It's an EU agency which main work is to register trademarks and designs. Not patents, but trademarks and designs. We also host the observatory for infringements of the intellectual property rights. And part of our important day-to-day work is to raise awareness and share knowledge about IP, intellectual property rights. In order to do so, the office has a tool which we call the Learning Portal, which is a Moodle-based instance that was first deployed in 2012, and we just upgraded last weekend to Moodle 3.6, and this is the part of the work that I will be showing to you all. Quick insight, we have 17,000 registered users. That doesn't mean active users, so it's just the accumulated. We have more than 800 courses, and for half of them, we offer a certificate of completion. So we evaluate the people, and we offer a certificate. One thing to remark is that all our courses are free and available. But it's very important to share at this point that we cover both use cases. So in the same platform, we manage the corporate training for all the staff. We are about 1,000 employees, staff members, but we also have an open platform, the same Moodle, where anybody, any of you, can create an account and take some of our courses. So here's where we start talking about the challenges that we face to have this unique platform. So we usually talk about 5 different types of users. The first group will be the ones that have a EUIPO corporate account. Those have access to most of the courses. Then we have the general user. This is everybody in the world that wants to create an account in our portal. A subgroup of that is national offices. The office works with all the national IP offices from all the member states, and for them we offer some specific content. So they are a subgroup of general users. Then we have the Pan-European Seal, which is students that through a memorandum of understanding with the office, they can apply for an internship. The office offers 100 internships a year for students, so they create a special account in the portal. And then guest users, which is, we have a lot of content that you don't need an account to actually see it. It's like dissemination of content. It could be a webinar, a video, maybe some PDF documents. So how do we manage all of this? With these three key elements: authentication methods, cohorts, and availability. Availability is a customization that we need to do. I just say that we're in 3.6. We come from 3.5 with some customizations over there, which we now call the course custom fields. We had to implement something similar. We call it metadata. And in there we define the different audiences. So that will allow us to be able to differentiate which kind of content a user can see. So then we use the enrollment methods within the courses, selecting the audiences. Request enrollment is a slight modification of a self-enrollment, and this will allow you to go to the course or not. So let's get visual. The presentation will be available so that you can check it afterwards. I encourage you to visit the portal. We had, for this 3.6 deployment, we are now using Boost, and we have done some modifications on the front page to have like a carousel and then like a more visual approach, because we need to really offer the content to the users. We don't enroll people in the courses, only to very specific cases for corporate training. So our language training, we do a lot of language training. For those, we do enroll people, but the others, they need to find the courses within the portal, and then for that reason, the front page is key for us. This is one of the best features that we consider that we have been able to deliver, and it's some carousels on the front page. I'm showing here the new one and popular ones. You can start seeing the metadata that we were talking about, so levels, the time of the course, the language, the type of content, if it's a webinar, if it's an e-learning, if it's a blended learning, face-to-face, because it might have a component also on the portal. And then we have we can create as many carousels as we want. These are the default ones. The suggested one is quite interesting because the user can define in the user profile his training preferences based on the different sections of the catalog, and then we will be recommending courses based on that. I need to run a bit. Then the search is key for us also. We try to emulate kind of a shopping approach, Amazon kind of shopping. We are very used to this nowadays. So we have Solar behind the scenes, and then we can filter the content, and dynamically the results will be adapting to the search that you are performing. This is what we call learning plan. Yesterday I found out that in Moodle Workplace there is something called programs, which is very similar. I would say it's a bit more sophisticated than this. This is basically a group of courses that we put together, we as administrators of the system, and we allow the user to, once he or she has completed all the courses, to receive a global certificate of the learning plan. I really need to run 2 more slides. I really look forward for Moodle Workplace to bring this back to Moodle Core. They mentioned this yesterday. And then this is in the dashboard. We have here also some customization because they were demanding us to offer them the certificates here, so we allow them to see all the courses they are enrolled, the learning plans, you can see there on the top, and then the certificates. And this is the admin panel that we have to manage all the modifications, adaptation that I just mentioned. Thank you so much. I think we as a community need to grow together. I really share the message that has been shared by my previous colleagues. So thank you all for your time. Thank you.
I'm really sorry there's no time for questions, but you can always
Yeah, I'll be outside. Yeah,
Mariano.
me and we'll be outside waiting for any kind of question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hi. Hello, hola, hey. My name is Tuuli and I come from Finland, the happiest country in the world. And we use Moodle too. Thank you for your presentation from Belgium. I could have told you all the same stuff. We also host a government e-learning platform, and we provide content for the whole public sector in Finland. I have been working with Moodle for about 12 years, but for the past few years my passion has been to improve the learning experience in Moodle, and I'll tell you a bit about that. So EUIPO, it's a digital learning platform for the Finnish public management. We have about 120 organizations. There are the ministries and agencies, such as the Transport Agency, the National Gallery, the local, administration, courts of justice, police, customs, and our service consists of a WordPress website. That is our Netflix of learning. And then we have the Moodle platform. We have the courses, also open courses for everyone. We have tools, and the content is about, the general competencies for the public sector. It means legislation, customer service, digital skills, and all that. The user finds the course she likes and logs in. They can, half of them may use the single sign-on, but the rest will have to create an email account, but it has to be a government email. This is our dashboard. As you can see, we have taken everything extra out, so there is only the necessary stuff. And here are these organizations' own courses that they manage themselves. This example course is done with a SCORM package. Our team prefers these visually powerful, easy to use authoring tools such as Articulate Rise. But we also use many Moodle tools and plugins, like in this course, Swedish at Work. We have a lot of content in video format, and we want to be, and as you can see also the H5P works here very well, and our course managers really like it. And we help them to create courses that are easy to navigate and pleasant to study. In about 18 months, we have reached 28,000 registered users. This is old data from last week. So our pace is about 600 new users every week at the moment. That's 70,000 participants in our courses and about 36 past courses, sort of certificates. So the success rate is about 50%, which we are quite happy with. And this is data from our WordPress site, where the people come from and how many they are. You don't really, well, that's Finland there and the Helsinki areas down there in south. So the potential is 72, the same as you had, 72,000 learners. But to add the whole public sector, we would really need another Moodle for that, say. So to reach them all and to make them come back and learn more, I think we need a service that is easy, appealing, and efficient. We need smooth access. good tools and support for our trainers, interesting and relevant content, and rewarding and pleasant learning, and data and feedback to measure impact. I'm going to share you now 3 key points here, what we work with, and these are access, content, and usability. First, access. I told you we had like more than 120 organizations using EUIPO, and about half of these organizations have the single sign-on service. But to provide a smooth access for them all, it's quite a task for us. And of course, we have continuous organizational changes in the governance too. And these organizations, they all have various needs for competence development and data. Others say, go and learn, have fun. And then the others say, everybody has to accomplish this course by the end of November and we are going to control it. Basically, we use cohorts, and I would like to have the video on. Cohorts and categories to manage access here. We also have cohorts that include various organizations. For example, here the government includes all the ministries. Our managers in the organizations, they get reports from the courses, and if you have a reporter role, you also get a more detailed participation data from all our courses. As you can see, that's in English, but I would never speak about cohorts and CSVs with my users. So we have customized the Finnish language quite a lot. So about content. We host a learning platform, but we also host a network. That is those human resources people who promote learning and also create content in their organizations. Other part of the network are those subject matter experts of their fields with whom our team collaborates to create content for the whole public sector. We have a quite a powerful production model, and we produce 20 to 30 courses yearly. And we promote new ways of work for the administration. And that is based on co-creation, service design, and development sprints. The Black Book is our playbook, and it helps us to create quality content with our customers. I have a copy here if someone's interested to see it. Greetings from our learners and course managers. Our slogan is learning is for everyone. Para cada una pueda aprender. Jotta jokainen voisi oppia. So we promote pedagogical thinking in this competence development in the government. And we want them to focus on the learner. This might be something new and even challenging for the trainers and professionals who might be like legislative directors or procurement experts or project managers, etc. But this is our team, and we're there to help them. In addition to doing a lot of the content production, I take care of our Moodle with great help from our Moodle partner, Mediamaisteri. I also see Mikko there. So I make wishes and he does the magic then. That brings me to usability. we all know that it's not the content that makes the great learning experience alone. So we ask our users about their hopes and fears and likes about, regarding e-learning. We started a year ago with usability tests, and it was just great. I recommend it to you all to just see and hear how people navigate, how they react on things, how they get surprised, what they expect, how they assume the strangest things there. And based on what we learned from our users, we did some wireframing and visual design, and we got a beautiful Moodle. But that's just the beginning. Here is we want to make the best of it. And here is our Trello board from Moodle development. As you can see, we have things to do, but we have also done quite a lot already. So that just said, well, we just want to make the best out of it. And we also get suggestions for improvements, and we regularly sit by the learners to see how they are working with our Moodle. We collect feedback, and we don't measure only satisfaction, but also learning and impact. And the platform and the tools really do play a great role here. The improvements we make, it might be a small thing in language, or a bigger button someplace, or it's a bigger improvement in data security, or a new report, or whatever. But basically, we finish every sprint with at least 2 improvements in Moodle 2. We work in 2-week sprints and use the agile method of Scrum. We get input from, the editorial board, from our users, from within the team. I make up all these Moodle improvement ideas myself. We put it on product backlog. It could be like a Moodle plugin thing, or an introductory course to legislation, wherever. Our team does the sprint planning. What are we going to do for the next 2 weeks? We have daily scrums, means that we're spending every day 15 minutes within the team to discuss what we did yesterday and what are we going to do today. And this really makes our work transparent and effective, and really a team effort. At the end, we have a sprint review where we discuss what we have delivered, what we have learned, and how things went. So our work is based on service design and this continuous development and co-creation with our customers. I would say our learning, no, it's the other way around. I'd say our work is learning, and we love it. So thank you, and please share your thoughts. If you have any questions, I'm happy. Oh, I didn't mention, but it's all free. It's in the state budget, so it's free, as in Belgium too. Sort of free. Sure. Yes.
Hi. What was the biggest challenge to get learning experience design going with your customers who may or may not necessarily be having a didactical background?
Their calendars, maybe. is the biggest challenge. So we're trying to push the production in 4 weeks. And we tell them to get back to us when they have the time, because we don't want them to work on Sunday evenings. Well, they do it anyway.
But because in my experience, prototyping is involved when creating content, or
They are involved.
Design, and you would like to get fast cycles going.
Yes, well, we have this workshop model that and then we do the script writing with them, and then we present them. This would be your course, and ideally it takes 4 weeks. Yeah.
One more?
You're good then. Thank you, and have a nice day.
My name is Solange Lalonde, and I am a Senior Project Manager for Curriculum and Learning at Moodle headquarters. And I am incredibly excited today to be able to share the work that we've been doing on the Moodle Educator Certification Program and the launch of all comprehensive 22 modules that we've been developing. So I'm going to start with just an overview of the MEC, the Moodle Educator Certification Program. This is really a program about teaching and learning. And it's a program about teaching and learning with Moodle. And so what we're doing is we're looking at aspects of how we can support educators in their practice and how we can help support that development of the knowledge and the skills and the digital competence of using all of our Moodle tool core Moodle tools and resources. So we're doing this because what we need to do is really focus on what do we need to do to prepare educators for an increasingly online world and digital workplace. So for some educators, they might be just launching into a blended environment, or their institution or organization might be asking for more things in an online space. So this is one way to help develop that program and develop that competence with trainers, with facilitators. And you'll hear me saying educators, but I mean the whole realm of that. So it might be grade school, primary, secondary, it might be faculty at a vocational training, or it might be university. And sometimes you'll hear me talking about trainers when I say educators, because that's for a workplace scenario where they're going through different programs. So more and more we're seeing that education is showing up in digital workspaces, and the MEC can help support that. Here are a few things that we really focus on. One thing is designing instructional resources. And what we're asking people to do is really reach beyond being consumers of resources, being consumers of what's available, and to start thinking, if they stretch beyond, how can they identify themselves as creators and designers of instructional resources? And how can that happen using Moodle tools? And also, how can they do that, and how can they develop this digital competence with the support of a trained facilitator? So it's going through modules, it's going through that learning experience to design instructional resources along with our certified Moodle facilitators. So another big part of the MEC is developing learning activities so that we're creating really positive learning experiences for our students. And throughout the modules and throughout the programs, what we're doing is we're focusing on the knowledge of using Moodle tools. So that's going into making sure that the settings are correct, that it's configured properly. And it's also about expanding that knowledge. So we know that people often use just 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe tools. How can we start to help develop that breadth of knowledge and the scope of Moodle tools that they're using in their practice? So we focus on the knowledge of how to use Moodle, but this is a competence-based program, so we also want to think about the skills and how are they applying those tools for their practice. It's really important that in these learning activities that people are developing that it's relevant. In the MEC, there's at no point in time where we're saying you need to pretend that you are a grade 4 teacher teaching science and create an activity. No. In the MEC, there are design challenges where you bring your own context in and you're learning to apply Moodle tools into activities that you can actually use in your practice. So if you think about it, if you finish one module, you walk out with 2 design challenges and 2 learning activities that you can use the very next day. Not only do you have some of the resources within the program to learn how to use it, you have the support of your facilitator as well and all their incredible expertise that they can bring to the conversation. So we're focusing on knowledge and skills, but another really key thing about the Moodle Educator Certification Program is that opportunity to connect and to engage in really rich conversations, because this is a teaching program and it's a learning program as well. And that's really where we start thinking about, you know, what does that look like? What does that look like when you're an educator in a program, but you're also the learner and also the student? And I think it's really important when we can create those opportunities to learn with each other, alongside each other, and also from each other. And I really think that's where we're getting to the heart of Moodle's philosophy, where in each course you're both a participant and you're the learner, and you can use Moodle to create those opportunities where you can continually learn from each other. So those are 3 things about designing resources, about creating learning activities with Moodle and applying the tools, and then also these learning experiences. That's a very quick run-by view. What I want to do now is to talk about the 22 modules that are included in the complete comprehensive MEC. So for the content of the MEC, what we've used is the European Framework for the Digital Competence of Educators. And so this is a scientifically research-based framework that was developed and published at the end of 2017. And I know that's very small, but these slides will be available so you can go ahead and have a look. So this competence framework provides the content and the 22 competencies. So we've taken each of those 22 competencies and created a module for that. But what this European framework isn't is an approach to teaching practice. It isn't a how do we approach teaching and learning. So for that, we've used the relational model for teaching and learning. And when we look at 4 different approaches to teaching, what we're doing is we're looking at the DigComp edu as the content, and then the RMTL as the 4 approaches to teaching, where we have design. And design is about designing really effective learning experiences for your students. How are we being responsive to their needs? How are we making sure that through the resources that we're using, that we're engaging in the content, but we're also being responsive and we're managing the information in our courses, we're really allowing and enabling students to critically think about some of the key things. How are we doing that in the design? So in the design teaching approach, we have modules that focus on that. In the guide teaching approach, this is where we're really thinking about creating effective learning experiences where we can focus on the learning objective. So we begin thinking about what is the learning objective and how can we use Moodle for really effective teaching interventions to help students progress and achieve those learning outcomes. So the courses under the guide section really focus on reaching learning objectives and creating those learning experiences and having appropriate teaching interventions and ways that we can get in and work with our students. The Connect teaching approach is about connecting with the content. It's about engaging with peers within a course, but it's also ways that our students can connect and engage with the educator themselves. So the Connect courses really focus on communication and collaboration and how can we work together within a Moodle and online environment. Finally, Reflect. Reflect is when we're really considering what does progress look like, what does achievement look like, and how are we gathering evidence of progress and achievement using Moodle tools and resources. So in the Reflect section, that's really where we're starting to think about how can we set up and design the course, our courses for our students, really thinking about progress and achievement. So those are the 4 teaching approaches. And what we've done now is we've taken those modules and we've included things like the foundation level certificate. So this is what we've been talking about quite a bit. And are there any people here who were in the workshop, the Moodle Educator Workshop? I see a couple of faces and we have our Moodle partner facilitators. Excellent. What I absolutely love about doing a workshop at the very beginning is that people come and tell me as I go through, I just finished my design challenge as it marked it. And it's wonderful. People get very excited about that. Because when you go through a workshop, you can get a badge for your module once it's successfully completed, and it goes towards a certificate. So you can see on the far left, those are the 6 modules that are required for the foundation. So I'm going to be going through each of the modules and talking about what the learning outcome is about. And to get into a deeper dive into those, I'm happy to meet with you. And I really encourage you to reach out to your Moodle partners, your certified Moodle partners who also have more information. So in the foundation level certificate, we begin with teaching tools. So in teaching tools, it's really about guiding learners to reach those learning objectives. And in this initial course, we go through all of the core Moodle tools. You have access to resources, content, and this has been really, really valuable for people as they start thinking about, you know, what have I not done before? They might start one design challenge with something that they're really comfortable with, and then on that next one, they might reach and think, oh, I didn't even really ever consider this particular tool. Maybe people are starting to move into workshop, they're moving into database, moving into some of the more complex tools. In teaching tools, you have a chance to look at all of those tools and start using them for the purpose of reaching learning objectives. Under guiding learners is really about ways that we can guide and provide feedback on performance. So it's ways of how can we go through a learning activity where the teacher can say, oh, at this point in time, this student needs this kind of support, and we respond to their needs. And we've done this all fluidly through using a Moodle tool or resource. In assessment strategy, we're really focusing on the progress and the achievement, and how are we gathering that within Moodle? And also, what kind of things can we do to help really simplify the role of the teacher, and how can we simplify that role for our students in terms of learner performance? How do they know where they are and what they've achieved? Learner collaboration is about fostering the exchange of knowledge, but also the creation of knowledge when we're doing that together within the students in our class and within learning opportunities where the purpose is for students to either create something that's new with their collective voice, or maybe to exchange, to have that opportunity to really exchange information. In the universal design, this is when we're starting to, by design, think about ways that we can create learning activities that are responsive to diverse learners, where that's the default. That's what we're doing in every single learning activity, where it isn't a checklist afterwards. This is what we're focusing on right at the very beginning. So we're responding to accessibility needs as well, and making sure that we're doing that as part of our practice, and building that digital competence using Moodle. The open content. The open content is very exciting because that's really where we're starting to encourage teachers to expand their competence, to expand their ability to be able to modify and share appropriately resources in their practice, and also to share with others. So this is a really key module for that foundation level certificate. Next, I'm going to go through each of the modules for the Reflect teaching approach. We'll begin there. So assessment strategy we already talked about. Next we're going to talk about professional learning. And so when we think about professional learning in Moodle, this is where it's that conscious effort to continually review and reflect on our practice and start to think about, what have I done in the past that I could perhaps improve? So this is what we're doing in that professional learning, so that we're starting to think about ourselves as lifelong educators and how can we do that within Moodle. Individualizing learning is really about how can we not only get that balance of reflecting on what we've done and enabling learners to plan and to do this themselves, but it's also about looking at past performance. So what has a student already done and what do they need to do? And so that individualizing learning is focusing on that. Responsible practice. This is when we're looking at communication and open communication, but also appropriate communication. We're starting to think about these interactions that are happening and secure data practices, and also that social element. How are we respectfully engaging in our Moodle environment so that we're being really conscious of the social interactions that are happening there to really create that inclusive environment. Next one is the community engagement. And for this community engagement module, I had some really great conversations with Doug Belshaw, and we had this perspective of MoodleNet kind of influencing this. So what does this look like when we're drawing upon the community, when we're really reflecting on what's out there and how can we contribute, but then also how can we draw upon the larger Moodle community as a way and as an area of future growth and professional growth. So those were the ones for the reflect teaching approach, and now we're going to go into the design. We talked about universal design, we talked about open content, and we're going to talk about flexible instruction. This is where we're starting to normalize differentiation, where as a normal part of our practice, we're creating opportunities where students can approach in flexible pathways towards reaching a common objective. So this isn't where we pick a whole bunch of different objectives for students to do in different ways. No, we have one common learning objective, but flexible pathways for students to do that using the complement of Moodle tools that we have to do that. Informed instruction. This is really where we're starting to look at the evidence. We're looking at the evidence, and we're finding ways to allow students to continually and successively provide information on those different, in their different learning activities. So how can we look at progress and achievement over time, and how can we gather that data? How can we as an educator look at what students have done based on their performance, and so that we can provide the supports? Content curation. Content curation is about organizing information. It's also about properly attributed content within a learning community. So this is where we're starting again to reach beyond creation, beyond just consuming resources, but also creating. The guide teaching approach, we've talked about teaching tools and guiding learners, information literacy, and I think this is more important than ever when we start thinking about searching and analyzing information and really taking that deep critical look to how are we using information in our learning activities, and how are we enabling the learners in our programs to do that? How are we enabling learners to go out to seek information, but then to also appropriately use it? Selecting resources is about that process of the selecting, the analyzing, and the using the resources, again, in our teaching practice. In co-creating content, this is where we're providing those opportunities for our students in the programs. So how are students able to work together to create content that they can use in their practice and in their courses that they're doing? In digital problem solving, this is where we're starting to think about technical tools and what happens when there's obstacles to reaching the content that we want to use, but also how can we use what we know, use the technology that we have to solve new problems in new contexts. Finally, the connect teaching approach. Learner collaboration was when learners foster that exchange and creation of knowledge. In the professional collaboration, this is when we're really looking at professional networks. How are we connecting with our peers? How are we providing information and ways to share our content, but also our expertise? And so that through those professional relationships, we're able to really exchange that information. Supporting learners is really about that guidance piece. So how are we communicating with our students? How are we following what they're doing within our programs and finding really effective, appropriate, and timely feedback so that we can support their learning throughout their program? When we talk about practical application, this is when we can really start to talk about transversal skills, or how are we enabling students to take their skills and knowledge in one area and bring it to another? How are we allowing the practical application of their knowledge and their learning? Under organizational communication, this is when we're starting to think about how are we as educators and facilitators, instructors, communicating? What processes are in place so that we can continually communicate with each other and really foster that sense within our organizations, within our institutions, and also within the larger community. Responsible participation. This is where, you know, whenever Martin talks about the SDG goals in the keynotes, this is when I really start to think about responsible participation and how do we embed that in all of our teaching practice, no matter what content, no matter which age group that we're looking at. What does citizenship look like? What does digital citizenship look like? But then we can also expand that to where our learning community can be local or regional, but it can also reach out globally as well. So the process that somebody goes through from sign up to certificate is that we begin with our certified Moodle partners. So we're very lucky to have some of our certified Moodle partners here, so they know the information about the Moodle Educator Certification Program, and they'll be able to give you more information about how to sign up. When you're signing up, you're going through and considering different certification pathways. We have the foundation level certificate, which I started at the beginning, and I gave some content about that. That's a great way to begin working and engaging with the MEC. We also have certificates available for different approaches. Maybe you know that in your teaching practice, you just need to maybe know how can I help foster communication and collaboration within my practice. You might focus on those connect modules. You might be selecting that as a certificate that you really want to look at. So they're the certificates for each teaching approach there. And then our comprehensive certificate. That shows your expertise in all 22 of the modules. And I think that's really important because whether you're brand new to Moodle, maybe you've just switched platforms, maybe you're brand new to teaching, maybe somebody has taken away your overhead projector and you realize you have to be in an online space, then you're able to go through the NEC to learn how to use Moodle. But maybe you're that Moodler who has the expertise. You've been using Moodle for years. You're really, really solid about what you've done and how you've done it. And this is a way that the Moodle Educator Certification Program can recognize mastery. It recognizes your expertise, and you're able to use that. It is so exciting. I'm starting to see the badges and the certificates online. People are sharing it on LinkedIn and on Twitter, so look for that. Look for hashtag Moodle Education and hashtag Moodle and MEC. And it's very exciting to see that process. We have a home course that people start with, and that's where people begin. You create your connections with people. You create spaces where you can share your content, and you can access the modules that you're enrolled in. And we also have a consistent module structure where there's that welcome and that target at the forefront. There's ways that we're starting to think about, how am I already using this competence in my everyday teaching practice? Then we have access to information where you can learn more, and then you go into your design challenges. There are 2 design challenges for every module, and then that process of reflecting on your experience within the course and providing us feedback. We use that feedback for the continuous program improvement and development. So future work, we're starting to think about lots of different opportunities that are coming up for that. We're thinking about what does this look like in terms of expanding? What does it look like in terms of accreditation? What does this look like in terms of MEC Direct? And we're really happy to answer some questions, and Martin will be available as well to give us some more information. And I know I've been getting, my time is up, but I will be certainly out in the front area. I'll stand by the Moodle booth, and I'll be happy to provide some more information. You can reach me at solange@moodle.com or to our website at moodle.com/MEC, And I have some lovely brochures up here that I'm happy to share and learn more at the education booth. Thank you.
Just to add something, thank you, Solange. Very good coverage of the plan so far. In this room, we have a lot of you who do Moodle training, who already, for many years already, are doing a lot of Moodle education. This is just the first phase. What I would like to see is more community involvement in the direction of this. What's working, what's not working. So I encourage you to, oh, don't leave, Solange. I encourage you to reach out to Solange or myself, solange@moodle.com or martin@moodle.com, if you're interested in being part of a kind of a working group around where this goes. What we have here is a kind of a curriculum framework mostly. We have a site that implements it, that partners are using to deliver the certification, but I would like that to become a more open thing, that the whole community is developing this into a consistent training around Moodle, around the world. And we really need your input. So if you're interested in being interested in the discussions about the future of this, email Solange, you collect those, and we're going to create a place on Moodle.org to discuss this stuff. Okay? So please get in touch if you're interested. I know a lot of you already are, and I'm seeing some nodding. So thank you.
Test, test.
Hello? Sorry, I've got to take a call. Sorry. You can have programs on a mobile phone? What kind of programs? Programs that talk to the internet? What's the internet? Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Marcus Green. I'm going to talk about programs on your mobile phone, Moodle plugins. Mobile app compatible plugins, a tour of the mobile app and compatible plugins. My name is, not Slim Shady. My name is Marcus Green and I work as a developer for Titus Learning. We're based in lovely Saltaire in Yorkshire. I am a plugin developer and my boast is that I had the first third-party plugin that worked with a mobile app. And then they changed how it worked. So I had to do it again. Anyway, what type of app plugins are there? You've got modules or activities, as I like to think of them. You've got question types, which I love, especially the gap-filled question type. And not really filters. But I arrived here at the presentation, at the Moot, and it turns out they're adding the capability to have full number one level support for filters, but actually they work quite well at the moment. So, what is available in the core mobile app? Well, all activities, all resources for students, because after all, it's the students that matter. Okay, the educators matter too. The reason I emphasize that is because the mobile app is all about students doing activities and using mobile, and it's not, the mobile app is not for people creating content. So you can take a quiz, but you can't create a quiz, which I think is actually fine, because generally you probably want a bigger screen than the mobile app. So,
At the risk of teaching grandma to suck eggs, how important are plugins? Well, every serious production Moodle uses plugins, and Moodle Cloud for Moodle.org uses 5 of them. That's how important and good they are. And of course, if Moodle.org use them, they're worth looking at, so I recommend you look up that group. And I'm going to be posting my slides for this on SlideShare. So, I thought this was a good place to start. H5P, beautiful activities. That's not its name. It's not called beautiful activities. But if I were to name it, I'd call it beautiful, easy to use for teachers activities. It's got massive download numbers. You've all heard of it. And also Moodle 3.8 is partly integrated with Core and is due to be fully integrated with Core in the next release of Moodle. There are very, 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 very small limitations. One is that H5P gives you exactly the same display as in a web browser, which you might see as an advantage, but normally plugins are adapted slightly to be suitable for a small screen of mobile devices. The other very, very, very slight limitation is you have to make a slight change once for your admin. You go to admin security, HTTP security, allow frame embedding. Don't be frightened by the word security there. Okay, now I'm probably going to talk about arguably the best plugin in the history of plugins ever. This is a fill-in-the-blanks question type with a very simple syntax that I created because I was quite frustrated with the complexity of the core closed question type. You can also do regular expressions and other cunning tricks available elsewhere. I won't bang on about it too much because, well, I'll bang on about his beautiful sister, which is word select. You have a page full of words and you ask a question such as, can you select all the verbs? And you click on them, and this again, very, very simple syntax. And you can also do word squares. So there's a couple of question types I highly recommend. Now here's an interesting one from the UK Open University. This is a question type that allows very sophisticated analysis of student responses. Imagine regular expressions on steroids. Not many people ever do imagine that. And that supports the mobile app. But kind of interesting for the teacher perspective, it's got this new thing in it called Rule Creation Assistant. And because it's quite complex to follow the syntax of how you do this, that's kind of useful. That's not mobile specific, but it is a reason to have a look at that, and especially now it supports the mobile app. What's coming up on these slides, I'm not going to go into great depth because I'm effectively saying here's a thing that does this and it now works on mobile. There's a thing called the tutorial booking app, and it's jumping to the bottom of the slide. It's similar to if a teacher puts a piece of paper, remember paper? I used to tell my students that by the time they were my age, the only place you'd find paper was a museum. So imagine that you get a piece of paper, put it on the teacher's office door, teacher with an office, say book an appointment, and it's a virtual thing, virtually like that. So teachers create time slots, students sign themselves up. Now I love this one, I only discovered this was supported fully in mobile recently. Big Blue Button is an audio-video conferencing system that does all the things you would expect and love, such as recording sessions and having people put their virtual hands up and that. But the really nice thing is it's probably the most tightly integrated video audio conferencing system available, tightly integrated with Moodle, and it works out of the box gorgeously on iOS and Android, and it is open source. Everything I'm going to tell you about today is open source, freely downloadable under our favorite license. The thing about video conferencing, it's quite technical and difficult, and the guys behind it, Big Blue Button, Blindside Networks, you can pay them to do that for you. Or you can do it yourself if you're feeling clever and technical. Big Blue Button. Questionnaire. The app version of this now works, is now available, I say, from Moodle.org. And this is something that's been around for a long time, since Moodle 2.2, just after the dawn of Moodle time. And like, this is, I think of this as a bit like SurveyMonkey. Okay? You've all heard of SurveyMonkey? No monkeys were harmed in the creation of this survey. So this is made to gather data, and not like the quiz, which is designed to test students. And these are the types of fields supported by this plugin. And one of the things that I don't emphasize there, it's got this capability for jumping fields. You know, if you create a survey and you sort of say, what sports are you interested in? And then the last option, and none whatsoever, because I'm a computer programmer, it will jump all those other questions that are linked in with individual sports. Attendance, this is from Catalyst, and every school in the history of schools since Aristotle, I suspect, he was a teacher a long time ago, you know, we want to know who's turned up. We want to know who's turned up. And effectively, that's what this does. Really popular plugin. At Titus Learning, we've used that with our clients. Group choice. Students add themselves to a course group. The teacher sets up the available groups, and the students can change which group that they want to be in right up to a deadline. And that is what it looks like. You've got Group A, Group B, or however many groups and whatever many names, and as a student, you click on that. I think of that as a bit like picking teams, really. Oh, I didn't like picking teams. Sports at school, not at all. Not sporty, me. Now, okay, so that's a lightning tour. One of the reasons I've done that is not all of those plugins have the mobile badge in the plugins database. They're slightly behind, and I'm going to nag them there so that when you look at everything in the plugins database that should have mobile support, they don't all have it, okay? Including one of mine as well, the word select question type. Did I mention I create lovely plugins for questions? Yes. So now I'm going to talk about filters. Filters don't specifically work with the mobile app, but of course the mobile app renders whatever the PHP puts out, okay? So right now, as long as you're using a mobile, as long as you're using plugins that just output PHP, it's going to work. And I'm going to show you this one specifically because I'm quite interested in language teaching, English specifically, because, I mean, what else would you want to learn? Now, Core includes the capability, a filter, for doing this kind of thing. The problem is you have to go into your editor, your WYSIWYG editor, expose the HTML and poke HTML tags in. Real people don't want to do that, do they? Not normal people. You're not normal people, you're at a Moodle conference. Normal people don't even know what HTML is and don't want to know. So what this does is that you just type it in to your Atto editor or whatever, and you can see here we're going to say select the verbs. And mlang en for English, es for Spanish, and fr for French. Okay? This, by the way, is a gap fill question. Very simple syntax. So when you look at it, and if you speak English, you can see that it says select the verbs. The cat's not on the map, the cow jumped over the moon. If you have your Moodle login set to Spanish, it will say, I'm not going to try and say it, I will say it incorrectly. And if it's French, it will say it in French. And that works right now, but it's going to work even better when it's customized to pick up some mobile settings. But that, for me, that works absolutely flawlessly. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was a lightning tour of the third-party support. Oh, one final tip. I meant to say this. If you want to do maths, I like to think of this as sums, and you want to do it on mobile, at the moment, out the box, it won't support the MathJax filter, but I believe very soon it will support the MathJax filter, but there is a workaround anyway. There's another way of rendering maths built into Moodle that you can do anyway, and I tested it out to check that it will work, okay, for the mathematicians amongst you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, do you have any questions? Mobile questions, gap fill questions, word select, very simple syntax. Thank you very much. I'll put the slides up on SlideShare and put a tweet out on Twitter. Thank you.
El noi d'IT, el que estava canviant de veure, perquè ell necessita carregar una presentació primer, per després a les dues. Saps què passa? Que jo tampoc sap perquè no sé, ja no tinc carnet. Ja, però volia triar per tu.
Where is IT?
No, he's not the IT from here, but 20 global.
Okay.
So your
I'm this
original one?
14 global student quiz.
Is this one?